You pour your heart into every single fundraising appeal. You juggle a dozen different tools trying to piece together a clear picture of your supporters. But what if your fundraising platform was built with a deep understanding of those challenges? That's the difference a purpose-built giving platform like Bloomerang can make. Bloomerang customers aren't just fundraising. They are seeing a 27% larger one-time gifts than the industry average. They're growing their supporter base by an average of 12% year over year. And that's the confidence to know who to ask and when. It's the joy of seeing your community rally behind you with greater generosity. It's turning passion into unstoppable momentum. Your purpose is limitless, and your fundraising tools should be too. Learn how you can start raising more at jcsocialmarketing.com/Bloomerang. That's jcsocialmarketing.com/BLOOMERANG. All right, on to the show. Hello, and welcome to Nonprofit Nation. I'm your host, Julia Campbell, and I'm going to sit down with nonprofit industry experts, fundraisers, marketers, and everyone in between to get real and discuss what it takes to build that movement that you've been dreaming of. I created the Nonprofit Nation podcast to share practical wisdom and strategies to help you confidently find your voice, definitively grow your audience, and effectively build your movement. If you're a nonprofit newbie or an experienced professional who's looking to get more visibility, reach more people, and create even more impact, then you're in the right place. Let's get started. All right. Hi, everyone. This is Nonprofit Nation. I'm your host, Julia Campbell. And today we are going to talk about a strategy to future-proof your nonprofit in a time when short-term fundraising feels relentless. Planned giving may offer something rare, stability. Now, planned giving often seems like a strategy reserved for large institutions or a distant concern for small nonprofits. But my guest today, Tony Martignetti, the planned giving evangelist and host of the award-winning, highly acclaimed, and I've even been a guest a few times, Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio podcast, I'm sure all of you are familiar with that, argues that it's a crucial tool for organizations of all sizes seeking long-term financial resilience. Tony, welcome back to Nonprofit Nation.
Thank you, Julia. It's good to see you. Thanks very much for having me back.
Oh, sure. So thank you for coming. You started off as a frontline fundraiser in 1997, and you kicked off your consulting in 2003. What are some of the things that you've seen change?
I would say the biggest change is the way I approach planned giving. I'd make it so much more focused and simple and easy and accessible now than I did in those early days, 1997s, et cetera. Then I felt you needed to launch a program, which is all I focus on, launching planned giving programs. I thought you had to do that by offering a myriad, a panoply of planned giving options. And through the years, I've come to realize that that is not the best way to launch. The best way to launch is with focus on the most common planned gift, by far most popular, the easiest planned gift for people to understand and to execute, simple gifts and wills.
I mean, you have the receipts to prove it. You've helped nonprofits raise over $150 million in planned gifts. What I have been seeing, especially with smaller organizations, planned giving often feels like a later strategy, a good to have strategy, but not a need to have strategy. Why do you think it's especially relevant right now for small and mid-sized nonprofits?
Sustainability. There's so much talk about sustainability, the importance of our work continuing for decades and generations. You do that through your endowment, that savings account that you hopefully never touch the principal of. You only spend the income that it earns each year. And sometimes you don't even spend all that income. So the endowment is multiplying and growing, and planned giving is ideal for launching your endowment. If you have a zero endowment today, as my grandfather Martignetti used to say, None you worry. Zero endowment, you can still launch planned giving. You probably wish your predecessors had done it 10, 15 years ago, because you would have an endowment now. But whether you're launching your endowment from nothing or you're growing your endowment, planned giving is ideal. So many of these gifts come in as unrestricted cash. And I encourage the charities that I work with to put as much of that as possible into endowment.
I think we should maybe back up. Let's talk about the terms that people use in planned giving, maybe like legacy gifts. Like, what are some of the other terms that fundraisers might have heard, and what constitutes a planned giving program?
Okay. Planned giving, it's also called, as you said, legacy giving, long-term giving, deferred giving. I think the most common term, though, is planned giving. And these are long-term gifts in people's estate and retirement plans. Mm-hmm. When you're prospecting for these types of gifts, you're talking to your most loyal, committed donors. This is not a donor acquisition strategy by any means.
Right.
Your most loyal, committed folks, because those are the ones who are most likely to put you alongside their spouse, partner, children, grandchildren in their long-term plans. And again, the gift option that I wildly recommend, starting with, is the simple gift in people's wills.
I think that's so important. That it's not a donor acquisition. This is not a transaction. This is relational. These are people that know you, that trust you, that love you, that have been giving, that are familiar with your organization. This is not like you create a Facebook ad and reach brand new strangers and say, put us in your will. Here's the link to sign up. That's not going to work.
Not like that. Right.
Yeah.
These are folks who have been giving to you, depending on how long your nonprofit has been working, you may have folks who have been giving to you for 15, 20, 30 years.
Right.
And, sporadic, maybe they lapsed a couple of years. I don't mean every single year for 30 years. Maybe they lapsed a few years. But as long as they're not currently lapsed, they came back to you. They are excellent prospects for this type of long-term gift, for a planned gift, for a gift to your work in their will.
Where do we find these donors? If we're all excited to start, I guess we're going to do like the who, what, when, where, why of planned giving. But who are these people? Where do we find them in our database?
Are we doing where or are we doing who?
No, we're doing who.
No, we can do both at the same time. Where, the beauty of where is you already know them.
Yeah.
You already have them. They're in your CRM database. You just have to query for longevity, loyalty. Mm-hmm. So let's take a charity that's been around for 30 years. That's, sometimes you see 130, but let's take 30 years. All right. So you have folks who have been giving to you for probably 20 years, maybe longer. So over 20 years, look for the folks, you're querying your database. Look for the folks who gave you 25 gifts in 20 years. Because over several years, maybe they gave multiple gifts, right? If that yields you nothing or too few, then make the criteria less stringent.
Right.
Make it 15 gifts in 20 years. Okay, how many prospects does that yield? Still too few? Make it 12 gifts in 15 years. You got the two variables, number of years, number of gifts. Query on those until you find something that's a manageable number of planned giving prospects, so you can email or direct mail to about the importance of, and the messaging is, our work is critical in the community. You know how critical it is because you've been supporting us for many, many years. And for some folks, it will be decades. But you know how important our work is in the community. You know the work has to be sustainable, has to continue for decades and generations. The planned gift that we're asking you for now, the gift in your will that we're asking you for, will keep that ugly future from ever happening where our work ceases.
So this is not something for brand new nonprofits.
Yeah, I like to see at least 5 years of longevity in the nonprofit. At least 5 years and more than just the founder and one employee. We need to have our donors with the confidence that the nonprofit is going to outlive them, right? Because these are gifts of cash at the donor's death. They've made their commitment now, and the way I think of it, as you graciously introduced me, the plan giving evangelist. The way the plan giving evangelist thinks about it is they've made their gift now. Their commitment is their gift. It's a gift of cash at their death, because that's how wills work.
I love what you just said. We have to show and demonstrate that our organization is going to be around in the long term and that we will outlive this person. I think that's so important. That just kind of really struck me. So if, say, we're a younger organization, or we don't have, maybe we don't have a lot of major donors, this is not about amount of gift. This is more about loyalty. Is that what you're talking about?
You're right on. Exactly right. I said nothing about the size.
It's not major gifts. Okay.
The donor lifetime value when I was talking about querying your CRM. Doesn't matter. If their average gift was $5, literally, I'm not exaggerating. If their average gift was $5 and their lifetime giving history, or donor lifetime value is $125 over 15 or 20 years, they're still a very good prospect for a planned gift, because they think about you so often. They gave to you 15 out of the past 20 years, or 18 out of the past 20, or 25 out of the past 30 years. They think about you a lot. And so, if you're thinking about direct mail, your mail is not junk mail to them, whether it's digital, it could be digital or print. Same thing with your email. Your emails are not spam to them. Mm-hmm. They love your work.
What about the boss or the board that thinks this is all about wealth? So we need to do wealth screening. We need to find the richest people in our community or the richest people in our database. Like, what would you say to them?
I love that question, because I love to channel the naysayers.
Yes.
The people who look at why we can't instead of how we can.
Yes.
Channeling the naysayers. Oh, it's going to be so bad. You're going to cannibalize our other giving.
Yes, cannibalize our other giving. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's move to that then. All right. Oh, you're going to kill our annual fund. Do you know that? You're crazy. What are you doing? Mm-hmm. You're going to kill our campaign. You're going to kill the annual fund. It's going to go to zero with all these donors who put us in their wills. You can't do it. So obviously I have no patience for the naysayers, because I mock their tone and their feeble arguments. Now, I've seen it thousands of times. I've been doing this for 28 years. People who put you in their will alongside their husband, wife, partner, children, grandchildren, and sometimes even dear friends are in our wills. Pets can be in our wills. Absolutely right. I agree. They love your work. They're not going to stop giving. They're not going to decrease their other giving. I've seen it thousands of times. They increase their other giving, literally, to that same charity, because why? They feel so close to you now, because they have put you alongside their dear loved ones and their pet in their will. They feel so close. All right, so you might say 28 years or Martin something. I can't remember his last name. Whatever. He does planned giving. Tony M something. All he's got is 28 years, but he's anecdotes. 28 years of anecdotes. He says thousands of times, but he's got thousands of anecdotes.
Yes.
Then I would refer your networks to the quantitative research of Professor Russell James at Texas Tech University. He's a full professor there. His area of research is planned giving fundraising to charities. One of his research projects was, how do people who include the charity in their will treat that same charity, in their other giving to the charity? And he found 75% on average, 75% of donors who include the charity in their will, it's specific to wills, not even the other planned gifts, increase their other giving to that charity. So you got Tony M something, whatever it was, last name, I can't remember, 28 years of anecdotes, and you got Professor Russell James at Texas Tech, quantitative research.
Well, let's go back to the wealth question.
Sure.
So I see this all the time, just in all kinds of fundraising campaigns, where the board or the executive director or someone thinks you just need to go after the richest people in town. And this is not that.
This is not that. Oh, naysayer. Oh, you're wasting your time. Mm-hmm. You're wasting our precious resources querying for people who are loyal. but their lifetime giving is $125. You're crazy. You're wasting our time. Now, those are the again, channeling the naysayers who don't know what they're talking about. Now, unfortunately, you can't be that blunt, although I know it's tempting to the naysayers to just cut them off and say, you're wrong. I'm not excluding our major donors, but I am excluding our major donors who are sporadic donors, who you wouldn't call loyal, committed. We are looking for loyalty and commitment over the long term to the charity's work. Those are the folks who plan for you often, even at very low dollar amounts, perhaps. They plan for you regularly, frequently, and they are ideal prospects for a planned gift. You're just going to have to tell your naysaying folks that they're mistaken. It's not only for small dollar donors, naturally, but it's for loyalty. It's for loyal, committed, long-term donors, irrespective of their average gift size.
I think, all of those headlines that we've seen, I'm just looking it up now, like the Scholarship Foundation of St. Louis, they got a surprise $2.2 million bequest from a former local teacher. And if you just had seen the teacher's salary and you were only going after extremely wealthy people, you would have completely missed that opportunity for that bequest. Let's get our terminology straight. A bequest is the same as putting an organization in a will.
Yes.
Are they different?
In a will, you could call it a bequest, charitable bequest, gifting will, all the same. Yes.
Okay. What are some other types of planned gifts?
So other types of gifts are life insurance. You could be named a beneficiary of lots of different financial assets like brokerage accounts, checking and savings accounts, anything that has a payable on death clause, a charity could be named, like life insurance, set up specifically for that, for beneficiaries at the donor's death. There are ways of giving through your IRA that if you're over 70 and a half, you can make a direct gift to the charity through your IRA. That's popularly called the charitable rollover. More properly, it's called that's what it's popularly called. It's the qualified charitable distribution, but again, it's only for folks 70 and a half. There are charitable trusts. There are charitable annuities that are heavily regulated. The charitable annuities are regulated by the states, but they can be very valuable gifts. So there are a lot of gift options out there. I just want folks to know that the place to launch your planned giving or reinvigorate, if your program has been kind of dead for a few years, is the simple gifts and wills. And then if you want to, in the out years, you can expand to these other types of gifts. They are valuable gifts, but you don't have to. You can have a really respectable planned giving program and only ever market gifts and wills because, as I said at the beginning, they're the most popular planned gift. By far, you're going to expect 3/4 to 90% of all your planned gifts to be simple gifts and wills.
I think that's such a good point because we might be overcomplicating it and thinking, oh my gosh, there's so many options. How can I research all these options? How can I market all of these options? How can I possibly present all of this? So I think focusing on one aspect, the most popular aspect first. And then of course, if you're getting inquiries or you find that there's an uptick in something else, to focus on that, but not overcomplicating it and not overthinking what you're doing.
You're right, Julia. That is a major obstacle to nonprofits launching planned giving, simple planned giving fundraising program, that they think they have to, hire a lawyer or have a lawyer on the board, a complicated web page. It's going to an encyclopedia. It's going to explain the nuances of a charitable remainder unit trust with net income makeup provisions. Oh my God, we got to teach our staff that. And then we have to educate the donors, like you just said, Julia. Precious marketing time. No. There are 3 things about wills that are another reason to make this the place to launch. Everybody knows what a will is. Everybody knows how wills work. And everybody knows they need to have a will. Those 3 things are overwhelmingly in your favor. They make it simple for your fundraising team or person to understand, and they make it easy for your donors to understand.
And we have to have empathy for our donors, and we have to have empathy for our audience. Not overcomplicating it for them is going to help them make this decision. So let's also go back to the naysayers. Okay. So in Western culture, we tend to not want to talk about death and dying. I'm sure you get this question all the time. How do we approach these conversations with donors? Like, what are some tips that you can give us?
That's a great question, because it gets at another thing that keeps people away from planned giving fundraising. Again, channeling the naysayers. Oh, we're going to have to talk to our donors about death. Their death. I'm not having death conversations. You can go out and have death conversations if you want.
Death conversation.
I'm not going to talk about death with our donors.
Right.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Naysayer. Yet again, you're mistaken. You're actually 180 degrees from what's correct. Like when you said, naysayer, that it's going to kill our other fundraising. No, it's actually going to help our other fundraising. So you were just a little bit off, 180 degrees. Mm-hmm. And you're equally off in this case. It's a conversation about life, Julia. It's about the life and the sustainability of your nonprofit's mission. That's what you have in common with your donors. That's what you know they love, because they've been supporting it for so many years over so many gifts. It's a conversation about the life and sustainability of your nonprofit. This conversation is about a natural extension of the giving that the donors that you're talking to have already been doing. So again, the naysayers are 180 degrees off. It's not about death. It's about life. Yeah. The life and sustainability of your work in the community. How important it is that work continues, and the gift in your will we're now talking about, now I'm channeling a gift officer, is going to prevent the ugly future from happening, where the unimaginable, where our work ceases in the community.
It's a conversation about legacy and life and the future, and not an ending, but like a beginning. I really like that framework.
A continuation of the work. It's just the life and sustainability of our work. Yeah.
That's really powerful. And I think having that reframing is really helpful to people. So that's a great idea. So what kind of materials do we need to prepare? Like, do we need a website, a brochure? Like, what is most helpful?
I think it's very low barriers to entry. You just need to start querying your CRM database and having conversations with folks about how important your work is in the community, with the right folks, these loyal, committed donors. I know I've said it half a dozen times, but I want folks to take that away. Start having conversations, whether it's digital, print, face-to-face, opening the idea of, look, you've been giving to us for so many years. We're so grateful. We're now focused on the long term, because the immediate is important, but the long term is important too. Like I was just saying, the sustainability of our work. And we're starting to talk to our most loyal donors, like you, about including us in their long-term plans. Would you consider including us in your will? There's a solicitation. Now, that's not the opening of a conversation, naturally. That's not the first conversation you have with any donor. But for donors who pick up the phone when you call, you can start opening the conversation. You don't need to have a website. Most of the gifts are not going to come through the web. They're going to come through your digital and print promotion and your face-to-face conversations.
Is there a way to scale this? And the answer might be no. And also, what age? Do you have an age recommendation that you start at, or does that not have anything to do with it?
No.
These are just mostly questions for me, because I'm interested in this.
I'm glad. Well, I'm glad you're interested in the topic. Otherwise, you'd shut me off, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for being with Nonprofit Nation this week. All right. We'll see you. Bye.
Yeah.
So no, but you're not doing that. So I'm glad you're interested. What was your question again? Now,
age, and then how to scale this program, and can you scale it?
Okay. Age, a lot of age will come out just because of the longevity of the giving.
Oh, right.
If folks have been giving for 20, 25 years, even 15 years, they're probably older. It's the loyalty and the commitment that trumps age. If you want an age, I like to start at roughly 55 to 60 and over. Those are the ages where people start thinking about their long-term plan as a method of giving back. I mean, they should have a will long before they're 55 years old, long before, especially if they have children to cover guardianship issues. But as a method of giving back, that's about the age when they start. But there are sustainers who may have been giving to you. Well, we haven't had sustainer giving for 15, 20 years. But if you've got sustainers who've been giving to you for a long time, you could open the conversation with them.
They're very loud.
But if you have age, again, the giving will be sufficient. But if you happen to have age, like if you're a school or somehow you just, you collected dates of birth, maybe through an age screening or something, then typically like to start at 55 to 60 and over. And then scale it.
Promoting the program. I guess scaling it for me means promoting it. How do we actively promote it? And how do we incorporate it into our fundraising culture so it's something that's there and it's something that we automatically go to after we know a donor's been with us for a certain amount of time?
Yeah. Put it into your marketing communications plan.
Yeah.
Whether it's print or digital. Print, as I said, your mail is not junk mail for these committed, loyal donors. If your budget supports direct mail, that's a gold standard for planned giving, because folks who are older are accustomed to getting print mail. If it doesn't, your budget doesn't allow that, then go digital. Hopefully you have email addresses and you can start having, scaling by sending to your 100 prospects that you identified or your 1,500 prospects that you identified. Again, when you did those CRM database queries.
Okay. I think that's amazing. So what is our role? I mean, we're asking someone to leave us in their will. And when they say yes, what is the next step for us? Or we just have to assume it's done? Or I'm always unclear on where's the boundary here and what is the next step with that? And then also, how do we steward them continually?
The first step after they've checked a box on a reply card that says, I've already included your nonprofit in my will. Maybe they pulled you aside at an event, said, I just want to let you know, I've included you. I put you in my will. However you find out, the first step is effusive thanks. Thanks. If you're a hugger, if it's appropriate to hug, I love hugs. But you might not be a hugger or it may not be that kind of relationship. Then big firm handshake and, oh my God, throwing your arms up and thanking the person because they have put you alongside. The donor has put you alongside her husband.
It's a huge deal.
Or wife or spouse or partner or children or grandchildren. So it's a big step. So very effusive, sincere thanks. I love handwritten notes. I'm a big writer of handwritten notes.
Mm-hmm.
That can be very touching because you took the time to handwrite instead of just using Word. If you're not comfortable with that or you feel the relationship is on a more formal basis, then certainly an acknowledgement, a thank you letter from the CEO, I think is valuable, is appreciated. Maybe a board chair, someone, effusive thanks from you if you're not the CEO, but then more formal thanks, but even formal could be a handwritten note of thanks. And then, you need a stewardship plan. So how do you steward your major donors? Do you have a communications channel for them? Do you have an insider newsletter? Do they get invitations to special events that other folks don't get? I would steward your planned giving donors the same way you steward your major donors. It doesn't cost much more to add another few mailings in the beginning or another dozen or another 50 as you scale the program, 50 pieces of mail to these folks who have put you in their will alongside their dear loved ones. I think that's not expensive or extensive stewardship plan. I'm a big fan of receptions before events. So you're already hosting the event. This is not a dedicated planned giving stewardship event. You're already hosting some event. Do you have a reception before where the major donors are meeting the board perhaps and C-suite is there? Invite your planned giving donors to that same reception. You got a theater event or something with reserved seating for major donors. Same reserved seating. What does it cost? Like an extra 20 feet of masking tape to mask off the extra theater seats? It's nothing, right?
Yeah.
Do some more for your planned giving donors.
I like what you're saying. It's all about being intentional and just incorporating it into what you're already doing. So there are some things you need to do that are extra, but most of it is really like just being intentional and doing meaningful stewardship and meaningful thank yous and just showing your planned givers that they're appreciated and loved and that you really understand the amazing, choice that they made on behalf of your organization.
Exactly. Yeah. It's that simple. It's low lift, low barrier to entry.
So as we wrap up talking about planned giving, what is sort of the number one tip you have for maybe a new director of development or someone that is coming into an organization where there is no planned giving program? What is the very first step they should take?
Query your database. Find your loyal, committed donors and figure out how you're going to start approaching them. Maybe some sift to the top because you know them well. You already have relationships with them. They become your top prospects. Those are the folks that you can talk to, either face-to-face or Zoom or phone, however you communicate with them, because you have an existing relationship. Your other loyal, committed donors, you don't have, you have a relationship with them through their giving, but you don't know them. You can't just pick up the phone and invite them to lunch or hope to have a call with them that's going to be meaningful.
Yeah.
So then those folks, that's where you go to print or digital.
I love that. I want to talk about the Nonprofit Activist Coalition that you founded this, correct?
Co-founded with Beth Cantor and Jay Frost, the three of us.
Yes. Tell me about it.
Nonprofit Activist Coalition. It's a network. We've got about 70 members right now. We don't have branding. So I'm violating a lot of Julie Campbell rules, but
no, it's amazing. I love it. It's very grassroots.
It's very grassroots. It's an email list.
Yes.
We don't have a logo or any, we don't have visual identity, but we have passion. We just had a meeting last night where Gene Takagi, who is a contributor, he's been the legal contributor on Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio for, I think, all the time, for 15 years. He's been on many, many scores of times. And he talked the coalition members through what is appropriate nonprofit advocacy.
Oh, yes.
And it's so much broader than so many nonprofits realize. Mm-hmm. What you're allowed to do, not pushing the bounds, what you're well within the bounds of law to do advocacy-wise and also lobbying-wise. So that video is available. Now, I know folks won't be seeing you and I together till like June or late June or July, but you can be in contact with me and I'll still have the recording of Gene's training for us, for the coalition from last night. If you want to join Nonprofit Activist Coalition, you want to be on our list, get our ideas for what you can be doing to be activist. I'm Tony at tonymartignetti.com. Send me your name and your email and I'll add you to our list. Email
me if, and I'll send it on to Tony. I love that. And I think that right now in the moment we're in, it's so important to be connecting with other nonprofit activists around these topics that are specific to nonprofits, because there's so many headlines, so much going on. There's just so many things that we could be involved in, but having trusted thought leaders convene around these topics and these questions that we're sort of all asking, I thought was really brilliant. I haven't been able to go to the live meetings, but I do watch the video recordings and I think they're really valuable.
Thank you. I'm glad you remember. And you're right. We are so much stronger, not just as the coalition, but the nonprofit community, our 1.5 million or so nonprofits. We are so much stronger when we are together, standing up not only for the community at large, but for each individual member too. I'm advocating standing up for Harvard University, Columbia University, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, National Public Radio. Those are 4 entities that are targeted, have been targeted already by the administration.
Yes.
The regime, actually, I prefer.
I've been watching The Crown lately.
Crown? Yeah.
They're rewatching The Crown.
They're not monarchy administration. They happen to be they happen to be there. They are not a proper administration. So I want to stand up for each individual member of the nonprofit community.
Yes.
Because when one domino falls and then the second domino falls, what happens to all the dominoes that are lined up behind those first two? Exactly. We're all lined up, all 1.5 million of us. You don't know when they might be coming for your sector, your mission, whether it's arts or environment or clearly social justice, immigrant rights, legal representation for the poor, feeding the poor,
homelessness.
These are easily imaginable vulnerable sectors in our community. So we need to all be standing up for each other, because we don't know when the regime may come for your nonprofit or your part of the community.
Exactly. So yes, if you want to join, I'll put the emails in the show notes. And it's just like Tony said, very informal email list. It's not like selling your name to sponsors or anything like that. It's just a group of concerned citizens, concerned nonprofit advocates sharing information and helping each other and sort of activating around these important issues. So I'll put that in the show notes. Tony, where can people find you? And I know you have an incredible podcast, Nonprofit Radio. How long has it been running?
15 years.
15 years.
It's been a show a week for 15 years. So you multiply.
Gosh.
Our 750th show is in July.
That's amazing. I don't keep track of my shows, and I should. And I'm entering 4 years for me. And I don't keep track with the number of my shows. I'll go back and look and see what episode I'm on. 750 episodes. Wow. What do you have in store for it?
Every 50th episode, milestone episode, is a celebration. So we have Scott Stein. He performs Cheap Red Wine every show because that's our theme music, licensed from him many years ago. Our creative producer, Claire Meyerhoff, joins. Our associate producer, Kate Martignetti, my niece, joins. And then the two contributors, Jean Takagi is our legal contributor. Amy Sample Ward is our technology contributor. They are the CEO of Eventime.
I love Amy.
So all of us are together in celebration. A lot of times, Claire has some fun stuff for us, like a quiz over the history of 15 years, things like that. But there's live music included. Scott always does Cheap Red Wine, and then he does at least one other song, sometimes two other songs. So it's a celebration. Every 50th episode is a celebration.
All right. Well, and everyone listening to this, wherever you're listening to your podcast, Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio, I will put the link in the show notes. And where else can people find you online, Tony?
TonyMartignetti.com. And I would be grateful to connect with you on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn.
Yes.
I'm simply Tony Martignetti on LinkedIn too.
Okay. All the links will be going into the show notes. Thank you so much for being here, for sharing all this information, just for being such beacon of light and inspiration and knowledge in the sector.
Thank you, Julia.
It's amazing.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do for the community.
15 years. It's wonderful.
It's a pleasure to see you. Yeah, it's always a pleasure to spend time with you. Thank you very much for hosting.
Well, hey there. I wanted to say thank you for tuning into my show and for listening all the way to the end. If you really enjoyed today's conversation, make sure to subscribe to the show in your favorite podcast app, and you'll get new episodes downloaded as soon as they come out. I would love if you left me a rating or a review, because this tells other people that my podcast is worth listening to. And then me and my guests can reach even more earbuds and create even more impact. So that's pretty much it. I'll be back soon with a brand new episode. But until then, you can find me on Instagram at JuliaCampbell77. Keep changing the world, you nonprofit unicorn.